Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio, the more considered aftermath of yesterday's football game. We got a full crew here on the panel. We've got Derek Frisbee from DF Sports. We got Tony the Calf in Minnesota.
The
We've
food
got
poisoned one.
Oh, what did you eat that food poisoned you?
I went to a restaurant. I don't know if anybody you've ever heard of Shake Shack.
Yeah.
Shake Shack. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
They have one here.
I had a burger from there last night. It was the only thing I ate yesterday, and it was a little more pinker than I like in the middle, and I'm fairly certain it was a little too pink because
E. coli.
I woke up this morning for work and I vomited probably about 20 pounds out of my system. So yeah.
God,
You're
like
the new weight
causes.
loss technique.
Call the boss
Hi,
and
Mark.
get screamed at by the boss for bitching and missing work, and off to the hospital I go, pump full of IVs.
Oh.
Couple extra laxatives, so
I wanted to point out to the viewers who watched the post-game show yesterday, my mood was very much controlled by my state of health yesterday, which was really, really bad. A lot of spinal problems that I have, a lot of back pain, pretty miserable. So much that I the orientation of where my microphone is because I can't bend my head forward. There's all kinds of issues. So I want to apologize to anybody who just seemed that it was overly somber and it was rather negative in its tone. And but honestly, if you sat through that football game and didn't feel negatively about it, I mean, fucking Baker Mayfield felt negative about it. He played in it. So watching it was no better, and I don't apologize for what I said, but how I said it and program in general. And I'm back today feeling better and have a lot to say, like a lot to say. The first thing I want to say is when the Cleveland Browns defeated the Cincinnati Bengals, about 750 people watched the show. When the Cleveland Browns lost to the New England Patriots, 1,500 watched the show. When the Browns slid by the Lions, only about 700 people watched. And I say this because there is a sickness. Having grown up in Northeast Ohio, I understand. I chose to leave Northeast Ohio because I thought that it was a very gloomy place. There are a lot of fans who are motivated by either anger or their desire to complain or to interfere with the game. I have a big problem and have, as I continue doing this for 17 years, scratching my head and saying, there were people who were cheering on the 0-16 season.
Yeah.
Some of my highest ratings came in an 0-16 season.
The old adage, misery loves company.
That's exactly right. So, I think that some of the things, and I'm going to start with Mary Kay Cabot because I feel that it's an unfortunate thing. Her headline and and I'm trying to let's see if this is her byline. I'm trying to get the one that she wrote, and here's what happened. Everyone knows there's a subscription portal on cleveland.com. Everything is being locked down to people unless you pay. Except for the most infuriating, negative, mean-spirited bullshit that this bitch keeps putting out listen to this headline. Baker Mayfield says he was frustrated because he played poorly, doesn't care about getting booed by, quote, the same fans that won't be quiet when they're on offense. That's the headline. I looked at every other, headline. I looked at ESPN Baker Mayfield says, don't really care about being booed by Cleveland Browns fans. And as I started looking across the internet, I started seeing that this is just going to be the way it always is. You've got the Browns fans who are going to chime into this whole thing, and
including us.
well, I mean, the bottom line is that I wasn't happy with the way the team played, and there's no question that Baker wasn't happy with the way he played, and this is the first show that I really felt that he was really not good, and he felt the same way. I'm not going to apologize for the content of the program, but at the same time, I want to separate myself from people who whine and complain every single fucking week, no matter what happens. You know, I come on and do this program to try to be at least somewhat head above water and keeping a rational perspective, and not, you know, the post game shows are fan related. I'm a fan. I go back today and I am an objective reporter of what I see. So that's kind of where this has always been from a programming perspective.
And that's part of the reason why I think the media. That's why I think personally the Baker Mayfield divorce is inevitable.
Well,
I think the negative press and the negative fans are just most of the reason he's just saying, fuck it, I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, I don't think he said that. And
not obviously not in public, but like probably in his mind, thinking in his mind.
Well, and you can read a lot through his wife's posts,
well,
which are becoming very Odell Beckham Sr.
Well, that was again, I don't understand any of the social media and who he's specifying or she was specifying wasn't tough, and needs to toughen up. What I do know is this, and I have a question to ask. We know that Alex Van Pelt stated a week and a half ago that the Browns aren't at our best when we have to throw, right? Especially when we're behind in the score, right? We had Myles Garrett say, we never had a chance because we didn't make any adjustments on the sideline when we had time to. And now you have Baker Mayfield's wife on Instagram, and it's obvious that some of things are starting to rip open. It's like a scab developed, and now it's ripping open. But I got a real interesting question to ask. So Baker gets his foot stepped on, which was already a problem. And he limps off the field and sits down. And they showed it briefly on television. They pulled his shoe off and he winced. He was in a lot of pain. The next thing we know is Case Keenum is warming up on the sideline. And like a relief pitcher whose presence on the field is imminent. Right?
And it was noted during the televised broadcast.
Yeah, that he was warming up. However, after the game, Kevin Stefanski said he didn't know that Case Keenum was warming up.
He was probably too busy yelling at the refs at the time.
Right. My feeling is this. He didn't know, he wasn't consulted. Who called the shot? That's my question.
Yeah.
Who was responsible? It's either one of two people. Case Keenum himself could have just picked up a ball and started throwing it fast, but Case Keenum, 33 years old, veteran, that's not his personality. But the guy who the week before said we have trouble passing the ball when we're behind, who doesn't get a chance to call the plays, I'd say that's the guy who's on his way out. He went rogue. I believe he told Case Keenum. Case Keenum just didn't stand up on his own and start warming up. Now, the way it's supposed to work is the OC would say and communicate to the head coach, I'm over here and Baker is really hurt, at least for a series here. I think we need to get Keenum into the game. And then the head coach makes the decision. Head coach doesn't know, and the guy's already up and throwing. Now, how would you feel if you were Baker Mayfield?
Like it was planned.
Somebody wanted it to happen. And it wasn't Kevin Stefanski.
Nope.
It's his quarterback coach.
And keep
So-
in mind, Alex Van Pelt has been working with Baker ever since he got here, trying to fix some of the fundamental issues. So maybe AVP in working with him just thinks, hey, this guy can't be fixed. So that would be a reason why he would immediately
Or he's
defer
just
to
so
Keenum.
broken down that he can't play.
Yeah,
One
that
or-
he's
one or the other.
overcompensating so goddamn much that he's actually hurting the team.
Right.
I.e., the airmail over 7 yards over Jarvis Landry's head.
Nobody can tell me that Van Pelt's happy with the situation where he's not allowed to call plays. Nobody can tell me that an offensive coordinator who's not allowed to call plays since he gets hired, except when the head coach had COVID, you can't tell me that guy is fulfilled in the work that he's doing. Can't tell me that. Now,
Well, and you gotta imagine when he took the job too, he was thinking that, they probably told him, well, I should say they probably didn't tell him that he wasn't going to be calling plays. They probably said that's something we'll have to work out. And he probably assumed, hey, I have this job offer from Cleveland. I have, the multiple receivers and running backs and tight ends and the great offensive line and a young quarterback who at the time he probably thought, hey, I can get this guy back on track. I can come in and call this offense and do great things. And that's just not how it's, worked itself out because Kevin Stefanski's so dead set on himself calling the plays.
Now, what I can say is this, and Mr. B, yeah, I like it as little as you do. I don't pay much attention to social media because it is the greatest source of bringing out all of the negative people.
And the locker room, by the way, hates that. I they don't have to say anything. That's just something easy that you can pick up on. You think those guys aren't looking at Baker going, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, keep your hoe on a leash. I get it. I mean, but you see, it works. The scary part of it is any feeble-minded fool, and that includes, Lonzo Ball's father, any literal, functionally illiterate person can put shit up on Instagram. You saw LeVar Arrington. A former athlete can get a job in the booth. I'm insulted as a broadcaster. I got to be honest about that. That's embarrassing to me. This is how I made my career, not in front of a camera and in the early days, yes, into a microphone, but as a top 40 disc jockey. But my whole life has been surrounded by broadcasting, and I was very serious and professional about it. And to have a clown like that on there and to have the wife of a guy bitching about something, it does nothing but sow the seeds of failure. That's what it does.
And people will say, oh, she deleted it. Well, it shouldn't have been posted in the first place. How many other quarterbacks? There's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. How many other wives do you see posting about criticizing the fan base or the team? You just don't.
I gotta
see
be
that.
honest. I agree with the whole notion of Browns fans making noise so that their own team can't hear. They're fucking idiots. But I really believe that there is And I can prove it statistically by how many more people come here when we lose than when we win. They want the team to lose. They wanted to get the team back so it would lose again. There is a sickness that runs throughout that area. I lived in it. From the time that I was 4 years old until the time I left back in 1985, I lived in it. That's 24 years I lived in it. I know it's a sickness. And, I don't know whether it's that people want to commiserate their being miserable with other people. I don't know what it is. I look at this completely differently. I was like beside myself. I turned this into a fucking comedy show during the 1-31 phase of the Browns. I made up nicknames for Huey Jackson, and a lot of people found what I said funny. But you can't analyze something when it's just a bad product that's on the field. But the thing that bothers me so much about this is that we've had so many bad products on the field over the course of so many decades. This ain't one of them. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's running at its optimum efficiency, and that's another thing that Baker said. But I would rather be 6-5 than be the 0-9-1 Lions. And I will repeat it until nobody listens to this program anymore. It's all horseshit. It could be so much worse. And these people are trying to push it into something worse.
Uh-huh.
And Baker Mayfield came here with the thought that he wanted to change and make this an area that was more noted for being victorious. And he was met by hate by Ohio State fans. We drafted the wrong guy. Right off the bat, from the minute he was the one pick, he's too short, he's too small, he's too slow. He was that asshole from Oklahoma who planted the flag.
For the record, not all Ohio State fans. I'm very much on record that I wanted to pick him at one.
I know, but you know as well as
I
I
know
how many.
I know, because I've had to talk to these idiots and say, hey, you do realize that this is no longer college football, right? Like, I don't care. I mean, and by the way,
win or do you not want to win? It's real simple.
If you came into Columbus, Ohio, and did what he did to Ohio State, you have more of a right to plant a flag than anything else. So I'm not mad at it. I mean, I don't know how 5 years, 6 years later you can still be mad at that. I mean, it'd be one thing if he played for Michigan and did that, Not that would be
some
right.
Of us still hate Bo. Well, some of us still hate Bo Schembechler, and he's been dead for how many goddamn years?
Yeah, well, and I didn't like Woody Hayes either. Let me put that on the record. I don't believe in people who choke their own players, I don't like Bobby Knight either, and he's dead. They're all dead, and I don't like them. That's not the way you coach. Working with kids, for God's sakes. So if AVP has something to say and something on his mind, you can't go rogue. You can't go rogue and get the other guy up throwing, because that is just as bad as Myles Garrett saying we didn't have a chance. And it's just as bad as Joe Woods standing up in front of people and saying our identity is multiple. Everybody can't be the great communicator here, and we can't be forcing our will on things and what we're seeing on the field. And I think part of the reason we're seeing so much of this on the field, these people jumping off sides or lining up in the neutral zone, is the distraction of all this noise. I think this noise wasn't present last year because of COVID and the stadiums were empty. And I did express concern of how different it would be playing on the road in places like New England when all last year you played games in utter silence where, you were able to hear all the play calls and, But now there's not only noise on the field, there's noise from the perimeter, from your own organization. And that's just wrong. So that's the first thing I want to say. Whoever's responsible for standing up Case Keenum and warming him up has to be terminated. Bye-bye. It's time for you to leave. You don't like your job assignment, find a better job. But don't go rogue. I want to point something else out at the same time. People in Cleveland, this is Baker Mayfield's 4th year. You couldn't blame Hugh Jackson on Baker, and you couldn't blame Freddie Kitchens on him. Neither man has gone on or will ever go on to do anything of significance, no matter where they go. They're both idiots. They never won anywhere they were, and they're not going to. And you know the Kitchens will never be a head coach ever again. He adapted to a new system with Stefanski. The system ain't perfect, and the pieces on the field ain't perfect. I want to point out with Jason LaConfora, the guy who reported on Trevor Lawrence's situation and all the machinations, SAT word, that the Jacksonville Jaguar organization is going through because they're freaking out because he's not playing well. The word from inside sources are saying that his development hasn't come along because Lawrence is struggling to diagnose defenses and read through his progressions. Well, that would seem like kind of a necessary thing to be able to do. Hi, T-Tosh. How you doing? It would seem to me that, you know, when I saw Trevor Lawrence play at Clemson, I said, fast in college ain't fast like the pros. I didn't see it. What I saw was a white guy with long flowing hair who would be really extremely marketable, that the league would really get off on. And what I saw in Baker Mayfield was a guy who, to be very honest with you, is probably cantankerous, but he was a nice looking white guy who got more TV endorsements before he did anything.
Great agent.
The NFL loves its marketing department. That's how this, you know, if you hate Baker because he's on too many progressive commercials or because everywhere you look it's Baker Mayfield, believe me, the league has a lot to do with that.
Because he
And
draws
meanwhile-
controversy, and they know that.
Well, I mean, my personal feeling is that Trevor Lawrence isn't as bad as they're making him out to be, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are every bit as bad as they always have been.
Nothing new there.
They don't have any quality players on the field. And you've got Urban Meyer, who, with his migraine headaches when he's winning, God only knows, he probably has irritable bowel syndrome now when he's not dry humping women at the bar. You got a problem there.
And another thing with Trevor Lawrence is, keep in mind, ever since he was like in 8th grade, he's been the forefront of the future quarterback, the next Peyton Manning. So, I mean, this kid has grown up in the spotlight, and now that he is in the league and he's not looking like a Hall of Famer in year one, people are like, what's wrong here? Meanwhile, you know, they're trying to hold him to different expectations than they would anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfair to any young kid coming out of college, coming into the pros. Baker was questioned because he was too short. Can't win with a short quarterback in the NFL. And everybody... Yeah, right. But everybody in the end has to go out in the field and has to experience what it's like being a high draft pick or the top pick and going to a really lousy team, except for John Faggoty-ass Elway, who refused to go. Okay?
Well, so did Eli.
Yeah, right. That's another faggoty ass guy. The bottom line is you put in your years. What I want to tell Baker, and I wrote Baker Mayfield a tweet. Yeah, he's never going to see it, But the bottom line is
that his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll see
She'll
it.
see
She
it.
reads everything.
She'll see it. Emily.
Just tag her in the tweet.
Yeah. If he were my son, I would tell him what I learned when I was his age. And that is, you want to come in and you want to be able to fix something, but when you're that young, nobody really wants to listen to you. And I was in the radio business, and I was the youngest general manager of a radio station in the United States of America at 26 years of age. People don't want to hear nothing from people who are 26 years old. When you're dealing with salespeople who are in their 40s and 50s, nobody wants to hear it. A 26-year-old kid, it ain't pretty. So you lose. I end up going to Jackson, Tennessee for a radio station there, an AM/FM combination there. I end up going to Spokane, Washington, and an AM and FM combination in Spokane, Washington, where the Nazis were over the Idaho state border. It made me really feel great when they came across and desecrated the temple, the Jewish temple. And I don't even go to temple. But my nose gives me away, folks. You can't have this and live close to the Idaho border, or else they're going to come after you, A, with a rope, and B, with vacuum cleaners to suck all the money out of your pockets, because that's what you are, being a Jew boy in the inland empire of the United States. But you know something? 5 years of getting thrown around and moving and being a gypsy and being told to do things that were the wrong things to do and losing. And I hated it. And I would say to my wife at the time, I would say, they're telling me to do shit that I know is going to end up absolutely being the wrong thing. And finally, I started just saying, fuck it, man. I'm not going to do it. And I started defying them, and I watched their sales go up, and they fired me. What I would tell Baker Mayfield is, when you are drafted by a team, you have X amount of time to put in with that team. If that team doesn't do what is necessary to make you successful, you don't own the team. But if they cannot, in a 5-year period, prove to you that they're making the right decisions and putting the right people on the field, then you've got to go someplace else and play for somebody that, now that you're 5 years smarter and wiser, you'll ask all the right questions rather than just being drafted, and you'll see the pieces that they have, and you will talk to people who will be your coordinator so that you will be on the same page. And that's how you become successful. It is why quarterbacks generally, as a rule, don't at 24 years of age start winning Super Bowls. They have to go to the first stop, and the first stop very often is the last stop for some of these kids because it's traumatic, man.
Yeah,
because they're going to some... And Trevor Lawrence must be really fucked up, man. You got to turn your mic up again, T-Tosh. It's got to be hard on him. And how do you think, in some cases, the Sam Darnolds are who we thought they were. In other cases, who knows? Trevor Lawrence might be the next Steve Young. We don't know that. But playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, there ain't no quarterback who's ever looked good there. It's a hellhole. And if Baker Mayfield and his wife decide that Cleveland is a hellhole because there's nothing but bickering and head battering constantly, and if we have people going rogue, doing their own thing, trying to guess the snap count on 3rd and 6 and leaving it as a 3rd and 1, if we have guys who decide for no reason, like Ronnie Harrison, right in front of an official to commit a penalty just because he has some sense of machismo,
yeah,
when anybody goes rogue, including an offensive coordinator who tells the backup quarterback or whoever the hell it was who told him to warm up, got a problem. And that's not going to be the place I'd want to be if I were Baker Mayfield or any other quarterback. You know who wants to be in Cleveland? A guy who wants to extend his career. That's who would want to be. Who is like, hey, I can make money, and you know, what the hell? There's a chance I could at least, somebody will see me and rescue me from the ocean of hopelessness and despair.
Can I take a quick poll of all you guys?
Sure.
Because I know you change day to day because your emotions and all of us, because we hate when we lose and we're frustrated. You know, what do you think about Baker's effort in spite of his injuries and his shortness? I mean, he's not the kid and is playing for the Chargers. So if all the guys can just, you know, tell me where you're at and just to know where we're at.
You're asking me, how would I quantify?
What do you think of his okay, there's three things: his draft status, his effort, and then playing through injury. Where do you think he's at compared to what you've had since the reboot in Cleveland?
Well, the draft status, he had nothing to do with. Somebody picked him, okay?
Right.
He could have been 2, he could have been 3, he went 1. When you go 1, of course, immediately, you know, but yeah. That's how you get all the commercial endorsements,
right.
All right? As far as how he has shown he can play, he can be a solid NFL quarterback. When I say a solid NFL quarterback, I mean a guy who gets you into the playoffs. He's proven he can do that. However, without a good offensive line in front of him, he shoots from being a solid NFL quarterback into being an inefficient, inaccurate, mechanical mess who can't outrun defensive linemen.
Well, that's not for him to do.
Okay. I think. Go ahead.
Who is it, Brian or Tony?
No, Derek.
Okay,
Go ahead,
cool.
Derek.
Go ahead, Derek.
I think that Baker's problem, and I think it probably will always be his problem until he finds somebody who can shake him up enough and get in his head so it makes sense to him. His problem is he's trying to be things he's not. He doesn't really understand who he is as a player, because in college he could outrun all these guys and he could, you know, he was more mobile and could run around and play action and extend plays. In the NFL, he's got to realize his strengths are he's got a strong arm, and when he's at his best, he's accurate. But he's playing like he's Patrick Mahomes or, you know, flashback to when Deshaun Watson was playing. He thinks he's one of these guys who can run around and try to make things happen, you know, when they're not exactly there. If he would just play the position from his strengths, I think he could be great. Not just good, I think he could be great. But his problem is mentally being the first overall pick, having people criticize him 24/7. He thinks if I don't make something out of nothing, then I'm not good enough. Okay. So he's overcompensating for his own thinking, and it's costing him. That's why I think you see him, you know, hold on to the football too long and then get smacked by J.J. Watt, and that's what injures his shoulder even more. I think it's all mental with him.
Let me interject one thing that is interesting about this Northeast Ohio sickness that I keep talking about. When LeBron James came to Cleveland as the chosen one, and we all were witnessing when he was a young player, and he got us to the finals way before the time the team was supposed to be, and we got swept, of course, by the Spurs. And then the long line of Eric Snows and players that they put around him on the court, and he would drag us into the playoffs and get us even deeper in the playoffs, but couldn't get the job done, and he left Cleveland. And we had people like Scott Rabb was a big vocal hater of LeBron James, who actually came out in the record and said he wished LeBron would tear an ACL and end his career when he went to Miami. That is the sickness that I'm talking about. And this same idiot, Scott Rabb, was on the documentary of when Cleveland won the championship with LeBron, crying crocodile tears, fake tears for the documentary, saying how grateful he was that the team won a championship. The fact of the matter is, you're bipolar. All of y'all are bipolar. You just can't have it that way. We don't have a championship with the Cavaliers if LeBron doesn't come back. And the reason that LeBron came back is because he has character. All right. Now, Baker Mayfield is playing injured. What do I think of him playing injured? He's not as good injured as he is healthy. I mean, but what one of us would be? But I think that he is under the microscope. And I think it's difficult.
And I
think that he is emotional. I think he's hot-headed. And I think he purposely stepped away not to do the post-game stuff because he was going to say something he'd regret. He was mature enough not to.
I think being the first overall pick really has hurt him in a way that it probably shouldn't have. Because if he were the fourth pick instead of the first pick, I don't think the media and the social media and all this stuff would be as, it wouldn't get to him as much.
But he's got baggage. You know that coming in, he's grabbing this crotch on college game day and planting the flag. They were busting him all over today on that Marcellus and Archo show about that. Just dredging up the past and why this is still why he's not good. Well, that's the past. Let's be now.
Yeah. That means
actually, that's the kind of shit that actually got and propelled him into the NFL.
Huh.
That moxie, that showing guts, that fuck you attitude.
And
that's what got him to the NFL. So
I think
for all those kind of assholes who fucking hate that, fuck you too. Shove a goddamn oil-dipped, burning, barbed telephone pole into your fucking anus sideways. You ignorant fucking cocksucker.
How do you really feel?
Okay?
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield is the winningest goddamn quarterback since Bernie Kosar.
Yeah,
that's right. We haven't had many. And you know something? I liked what Baker actually did in taking comments, out of, order, and the whole point of what he was saying was the people who are complaining about this up to the post-game press conference and all of that, those are probably the same fans that won't be quiet while we're on offense trying to operate, so I don't really care. The fact of the matter is he came to Cleveland to win, right? And it's important to win for him because he's competitive. Also the fact that it will make his career. You win in Cleveland, you can win anywhere. And yes, he's going to be in great demand no matter what happens in Cleveland. If Cleveland doesn't desire him or is playing him injured so that he will hurt himself and lower his value, if that's what their strategy is, he will wind up with a good team and he will win with good teams.
Honestly, I wish he would. I wish he would go down to New Orleans and play with Sean Payton, and then people would actually see what this kid could really do.
Yeah. Has everybody weighed in? Did Brian and anybody else?
No, I think he cares. I haven't. I think he cares. I think he wants to win. He's always wanted to win. I think he realizes that he needs to be Superman because other than Chubb, they don't have it. You don't have any offensive threat. And
right now, the things that were supposed to help him out, a healthy Jarvis Landry, which just didn't materialize.
Well, even healthy, Jarvis Landry was never a number one receiver.
No, but he was a hell of a great, reliable slot receiver who was getting 1,000 yards a year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you take that away from him, and then the OBJ thing that never got off the ground, and then even the guys who were behind him, guys like DPJ who were hurt, and this influx of tight ends, and I don't know.
I mean, you put Baker Mayfield on the Vikings and watch the fuck out.
Oh my God!
With elite wide receivers like we have, with Jefferson.
But the fact is, that's something that our front office can do.
Yeah.
They can do that. They can draft people at the proper positions. They didn't give him any help there.
Nope.
They gave the defense the help and put it in the hands of a child, guy who had never really done the job successfully. But we've got the pieces there. We just need a coordinator who can put those pieces in the right places.
Has everybody weighed in on the question?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, good. All right. Just want to know. I mean, for me, I love the guy for his effort. I mean, and he's playing. I wish he wasn't playing hurt, just because I want him to be. Let's say miracle of miracles. Keenum was able to get us over the hump, get 3 games, and he comes back healthy. Okay, and I know that's just whatever it is, but I'd like to see him be able to play at full strength. And this is based on that throw he made in the Cardinal game, that Hail Mary throw, all the way into the end zone. I looked at it and said, wow, is that Aaron Rodgers too? He's got that kind of arm,
He's got arm talent. There's no question about that. And he just has to kind of push down some of his tendencies to try to bite off more than he can chew. And Amsterdam, you forget, I own the bank. All right, just letting you know.
There we go. No filter there.
I don't have to hyperventilate, The money you put into the bank goes right into my pocket. You see, that's how it works.
For Family Guy viewers, Moohead is kind of like our Mort.
Okay.
They said the same thing about LeBron James. If you remember, it was Cavaliers drafted the wrong guy. It should have been Carmelo, because Carmelo has proven he can hit the big shot when it counts. LeBron hadn't hit a game winner for the first couple of years of his career. So that was what they focused on. Now, could any hot take be more wrong than that?
He took a team to the finals basically by himself.
Yes. As he
Correct.
has
They
every
got stomped by a complete team in the Sperms.
He's done it every
Who I
place
fucking
he's
hate,
been.
but-
When he was a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid, he did it then. Then when he was in high school, he did it then. He went directly from high school in the pros and did it then. Then he went to Miami and did it there. Then he went to the Lakers and did it there. At what point do you stop discussing this nonsense? When Baker finally wins a big game with a final minute drive.
He did.
He did Cincinnati last year.
I want to win.
Yeah.
He wants to win. You want it to be on the last play of the game? You want what do you want him to do? Stuff the football halfway up his rectum, fart it out for a touchdown pass?
No, he's supposed to turn into the goddamn Flash, run out 40 goddamn yards, and personally hand the football to the receiver. Apparently. But yeah, they want 700 completions a game. He should be throwing for 9 touchdowns and doing all this fucking shit. And it's not that kind of offense, folks.
No, I mean,
I don't care if you have Aaron Rodgers playing in this fucking system. He's not throwing for 40 goddamn touchdowns a year.
Well, if you really want to know something, I mean, we talk about Herbert, the kid from from San Diego. From San Diego.
I know it's okay. San Diego's okay. Just keep saying that. That's the way I think too. I live out
always
here.
be the Chargers.
I love San Diego, by the way.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's not
city.
an insult.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been.
The stadium's a little bit of an insult, but that's enough.
You ever been to the Hotel Del, T-Tosh?
Oh yeah, I've played there many times.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, I played them all down there.
I love that area. So it's not, that's not a put down. That's a league thing. League identifying with bigger city. But you're up 27-10 going into the fourth quarter, and you allow Ben Roethlisberger to put up 27 points in the fourth quarter?
Well, can you shout out to the tight ends that the Steelers have compared to the tight ends the Browns have? Anybody want to talk about that?
Well, Ebron and Howard
Fryermuth.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple of good tight ends.
Real good.
But again, had the officials not given the Chargers the game against the Browns, they gave up all those points to the Browns too. And the Browns aren't exactly a lean, mean scoring machine based upon the way their offense is as structured as it is. And Ben Roethlisberger, who is a statue compared to what he used to be, as a matter of fact, I saw pigeon shit on him the other day, and it's like, wow, he's not moving very well these days. But 27 points in the fourth quarter says more about the Chargers than it does about the Steelers.
I tell you what, though, I'll put this prediction in right now. Starting quarterback for the Steelers next year is going to be Kenny Pickett.
Who?
The kid out of Pittsburgh.
Oh, he's supposed to be pretty good, huh?
Boo.
He's
Yeah,
going to
he's-
be right where they're picking.
really
It'll be
good.
the sweet spot for him. And I guarantee you he'll end up in Pittsburgh. It's kind of like Mac Jones. Everybody was like, oh, it's perfect. New England's going to find a way to get him. I just got that gut feeling with Pickett. I feel like he even kind of plays like Ben as far as like moving around in the pocket and as far as being mobile, but not mobile as we know it today.
Yeah, I haven't
Type
seen him
deal.
yet.
Yeah, it's and I think this is the way we all feel. You know, if you don't have field stretchers in the modern game of the NFL, you're really limiting yourself tremendously. Because let me explain about big plays. And Peter, I'm glad you put this up there. Big plays in football don't usually happen with guys like Nick Chubb. I mean, yes, there was Eric Dickerson. Yes, there's Nick Chubb. There are guys, Barry Sanders, who could break 70-yard runs. And you got accustomed to seeing them doing it. But if you looked around the league, there was nobody else doing it. What were the ways that big plays were made for the Browns? It was Eric Metcalf returning punts and kickoffs. But you can't return kickoffs anymore, really. I mean, I would say that 90% of the
Unless your
kickoffs
kicker, unless the kicker can only kick it to the 1 yard line, like McLaughlin.
But even in literally in 90% of the cases where people catch it at the goal line and run, they don't even make it back to the 20. There is no reason to stock a specialist like Eric Metcalf on your special teams when you're not going to return the punt 90% of the time anyway. So it's a lost art. You cannot score that way. Punt returns, no more. Kickoff returns, no more. The only big plays now are pick sixes, which are very rare, and what is more common, which are pitches and catches down the middle of the field where seams are broken and they outrun everybody, or they outrun everybody by running a pattern and either blown coverage, and once they're behind you, you'll never catch up to them. And that's raw speed and pattern running capability. So that's the way you make big plays. And if you don't have fast guys, you're not going to make big plays. The Browns don't make big plays except for Nick Chubb. Fact. DPJ's made a few. And usually it's when defenses are lulled to sleep because of Nick Chubb.
Is your neighbor blowing leaves?
Oh, sorry. You hear that? Yeah, you're right.
Whose leaves?
Better?
Oh, I thought it was Moo's neighbor again.
Ah, that's coming live from Burbank, California. That's
I
right.
thought it was Tony the Cat having his shit.
Well, I don't understand. Who is Mr. Leaves?
I think they were hearing the guy
Funny.
blowing.
I'm just waiting.
Somebody
You could
was going to get
stop.
the fucking joke. Jesus Christ.
I got
I
the
know.
joke.
It's
I
like,
didn't
hello?
Make it
Hello?
stop.
McFly.
Jeez.
It was El Rocketeer
Wow.
playing
you
through
know,
the neighborhood.
To me, we have to give him weapons of the modern day game if we expect him to be a successful modern quarterback. And what we know is he has the arm strength to do it. What we also know is that Cody Kessler didn't have the arm strength to do it. And all these other subsequent quarterbacks we had, Brandon Weeden had a strong arm, but got lost under a flag. It really makes you wonder what kind of progression reads were going through Brandon's mind when he didn't even have the requisite GPS in his brain.
He had Alzheimer's though. He was older than Brian. So.
Yeah, I mean that was again. Like, we can go over all the mistakes. Baker, though, has the arm talent, and really to take that away from him when you saw him throw the ball that far field, to not give him that kind of or several of those weapons really limits what his capacities will be for the team. Yeah, Bronk.
Yeah, I don't want to throw a wet blanket on our solution here, but you know, the writers go on about the 30 quarterbacks that have been here in Cleveland since 1999, blah blah blah. But look at the fucking wide receiver bullshit that we've had too at the same time. I mean, you could have a list just as long. You can go back to fucking Coleman and fucking Callaway and Robisky and Greg Little and all these guys we tried, Schwartz and Felton. I mean, what complacency was Andrew Berry sitting on when he thought, oh, the wide receiver room was fine. Let's buy these little luxury little pieces like Schwartz and Felton in the draft instead of getting some fucker that can be a slot receiver. I mean, I love Andrew Berry. I think he's the best executive Browns have probably ever had. But you know, there was a lot of complacency going into the year that our wide receiver room was somehow fixed. So we got rid of Hodge, and it's fucking not worked out, man. Let's
How about free agency? How about free agency? I mean, I know that Billings, they didn't give him a lot of money to come there, but I mean, the man was so overweight he would not fit in Billings, Montana. I mean, let us be honest about this.
The guy's morbidly obese.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was not in any condition to play the game. But you look at, and it's like maybe they're really happy with Anthony Walker. I don't know. But these were people we targeted in free agency, and we didn't target anybody who could help us outside as far as our offense was concerned.
And there's a thing here in football, in soccer here, that you get players down the spine of your team. You have two strikers, you have a holding midfielder, you have two central defenders, and a goalkeeper. You get those top guys. That's like, and that's the spine of your team, and you don't lose because you don't give up goals and you manage to score one or two. A wide receiver, a possession wide receiver, is the spine of your team. And if you have a hurt Jarvis Landry, and that's what you're relying on for the entire 17 games, he's going to get killed. He's killed last year. So
the thing about Landry, and D-Cup is saying Landry is Edelman, and the fact of the matter is, what Jarvis Landry is a guy who would catch 80 to 90 passes a year and would average 11 to 12 yards per reception. He's a chain mover, and he's the one who enables the outside guys with speed to take advantage, and that's what gives him his ability to play the middle of the field. But unfortunately, the slot receivers have shorter careers because they're going over the middle more, and they're going to get hammered by big guys.
And Jarvis can't catch the ball anymore because he has been hammered. I mean, who would want to look at his ribs right now?
Oh,
I mean, his ribs must look like fucking Adam or the first man. He's missing a few, It's just crazy.
And he's only getting older too.
Yeah.
I mean, Amsterdam, the original name of PayPal was PayPalstein.
Was Moopal.
Come on.
Oh, it reminds me of that advert. All the people in this room, that Joe Millionaire program, one guy's a millionaire and the other one isn't. Well, all the people in the panel, and there's one guy who's a millionaire. So that's what we got here.
And I would say, Rob, that, less arm, more touch. I would say if there was a weakness with Baker is he does get emotional and he tends to want to rope everything. I tend to agree with that. Sometimes you got to loft the ball in there and show a deft touch. And I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield is a perfect quarterback, but the way he's being villainized is like, and the other thing that Baker said that I really forgot to mention is, he made reference to winning, which is not very common in these parts in recent years.
No one does.
And so people have to be reawakened and remember that these things don't grow on trees. Victorious teams have to be built. And you cannot go from Hugh Jackson and Freddie Kitchens to the Super Bowl, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. The fact that you had that one great year and you got into the second game in the playoffs is fantastic. But what makes you think? I mean, when we had to draft an entire defensive team, this was not a Super Bowl team, and it isn't now. And we have to draft a bunch of skilled wide receivers. There's lots of things that have to go together for this to happen. You can't be as bad as the Browns have been for so many years and suddenly just think it's going to happen like that. Fans are bipolar.
And the problem is they've known that the whole Odell Beckham Jarvis pairing, regardless, one of them was going to have to go because of the money. And you're telling me that your long-term plan or your solution as far as an immediate future at wide receiver was Anthony Schwartz? I mean, who else have we brought in? Donovan Peoples-Jones was a lucky find. That was not a plan. If they wanted him, they would have taken him third round, fourth round. They waited till the 6th. That was just, we stumbled into a lucky pick. So this is their plan. They have no plan. And it's bad because it's like you could have seen this coming a long time ago. And this is what you're stuck with. No future or little future.
Well,
and Higgins sucks.
Speaking of Browns of the past, I mean, I was watching the Colts and the Titans, the highlights of that. And I was seeing Sendejo getting beat on some plays. He's playing for the Colts. I went, yeah. So, yeah, I mean.
Well, they just beat the Bills' ass, so that's.
I don't know. I think it looks like the Patriots are going to fucking win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, normally I'd come out right about now with some team who's going to win it. That's what I'm going to say.
I think the complaints that I see, and I'm not willing to say that Andrew Berry's a clown.
No, I'm not at all. I think he's the best one we've had.
I think that a tight end in Kevin Stefanski's scheme doesn't have to be a $40 million one.
Correct.
It needs to be somebody who can catch the ball, but it needs somebody who's able to block. But it doesn't have to be a guy who's. But right now, the wide receivers and the slot guy are supposed to carry the weight with the offensive production, and the tight end is supposed to be a dependable guy with hands who blocks and helps add an assist to the running game. Yeah, Bronk.
Imagine if right now we had either of the Kevin Winslow or Kevin Winslow too. How would he even be fucking used in this offense, you know? I mean, Njoku's sort of like a bargain basement Winslow. But, it's a waste of time having those sort of flair tight end guys.
You mean Kellen Winslow?
Kellen Winslow, yeah. Kevin, what did I say, Kevin?
Yes.
Thank you, Brian, for correcting me. I always appreciate that when you come up with trivial little nonsense to correct people. Everyone loves it.
Our offense should look like the 49ers offense.
Well, I can't let you be a stumble bump through life.
Correct, Brian. I'd rather be me than you, though.
We're just one big dysfunctional
family. Welcome to the family, T-Tosh.
Well,
that's why you're the Eeyore of Northeast Ohio sports.
Well, somebody's got to be depressed and ready to jump off the bridge.
Well, it's after 7 o'clock. I
want to say, when I first came on the program, I heard you go on about LeBron and the game-winning shot thing. I mean, Mayfield is getting all the same criticisms that LeBron had in his career. In the exact same order, like the first year, the second year, the third year, the fourth year, and God love us, further on out. He's getting the exact, and it's because they just want to go for him. And there's haters that hate, and there's no explanation for it other than that.
This is the last comment I'll respond to on today's show. And Rob, I agree. We need to draft a quarterback that we think can come in and play if Baker gets hurt.
Correct.
Keenum's long in the tooth, and right now he will remain the backup in Cleveland, but it is important to have the clipboard guy who is learning the game but learns the system and somebody
cheat.
who fits the criteria of
Well,
what
and
the offensive scheme needs.
Keenum is a lot like Stanton, where he's an assistant coach with a number.
Well, I don't even think he's
That's
that
his job. Well, but every time you see him on the sideline, who's Baker going over the thing with? It's
Oh,
Case
sure.
Keenum. It's
Sure,
not
sure.
fucking Alex Van Pelt or the quarterback coach or
That's right.
the water boy for that matter. So
Well, who yielded for Bernie Kosar?
Greg Daniels.
Danielson, yeah.
Williamson.
And
Well, and Mike
Danielson, I mean, Danielson was a guy who was an all right backup quarterback, but he was a mentor. And Case
Great
Keenum
announcer.
is a mentor for that scheme. So I get it, but they're not thrilled about playing Case Keenum because he's a better mentor at this point in his life than he is a quarterback, I think. I think that's basically what the organization's telling him.
And the thing about Keenum is that he'll get killed if he plays more than 6 quarters. He'll be dead as well, you know?
I need you to send that file to the
Okay.
Frontier.
All right, everybody, that's it. And T-Tosh's wife has just broken up the show, and that's it.
okay.
Wow.
I was
another
like,
little
who's talking?
sexual
Are you
on
watching
the phone.
And on
porn
that
again?
I thought
And
that
on
was
that
Rock.
note, bye,
first.
Key.
I'm like, who in
This
the
edition
world?
of Moohead Radio, I just wanted to let you know that I still got my smile. Yes, I'm a Browns fan. If we don't play better than we did this last weekend, we're going to have all kinds of difficulties with Baltimore. Baltimore has been playing very mediocre football, and they're going to be psyched to play us. We better be ready to play them. And
Hey,
we'll see what
Huntley's
happens.
good.
I'm going to go over and watch the Cavs now and to see if Jared Allen is at least back.
Thoughts and
Yeah, he
prayers
is
for the
starting.
Cavs.
Say what?
He's starting, no Mobley yet.
And Mobley is gone for another couple of weeks.
And the Nets get Durant back.
Oh, who really cares about them? All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again on Friday as we'll do the pregame lead-in to the big divisional game on Sunday night. And by the way, there'll be a halftime show on Sunday night, but there ain't going to be no post-game show. 8:20 start. And
I hate those.
Moohead
it's
I hate
killer.
those.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And until Friday, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Bye.